Okay, here we go with the perfect tense. And so we did present and imperfect. Now we're going to be looking at perfect. So now we're going to actually be using a different principal part. So we got porto, portare, and then portavi, portatus. Carry. It says carry. And here's the key here. We're doing perfect tense, but we're going to be specifically doing perfect active tense. Okay, and when you're doing the action, and to get the active form, you always use the third principal part. This is the part that shows the perfect. Okay, and there's several other perfects. There's the pluperfect, and there's the future perfect, and they're all based around this third principal part, which is the perfect, the completed action form. In Latin 1, usually I use present tense, imperfect tense, and perfect tense a lot, and all simultaneously from the beginning. And so you should be pretty familiar with, those, the comparison of those. Like facit would be he does, fake it would be he did, faciebat would be he was doing. And I try to make a big deal about the bot sound and the differences between those three forms, because these are really used a lot in your basic conversation. So portavi is the first person singular form of the perfect active tense. So first person we'd say ego portavi, which is I carried. And remember, when we say something is perfect, it's like it's completed, it's perfect, it's done. So I carried is the best way to translate portavi. You could also say I have carried. And that distinguishes some from the imperfect tense, which is I was carrying. Although you could translate the imperfect as just I carried also, but it still has this idea that the action was going on for some time, whereas this perfect has the idea that the action was completed. Okay, now to get the other forms, you don't use this second principal part, the infinitive. You use the third principal part, but you just take off the I, which is the I ending, the ego ending, and you add a different set of endings. And for the perfect, these endings are e, isti, it, imus, looks kind of similar to present, right? Well, a lot of these have some similarities. Istus, erunt. That is a long erunt. So e iste it, imus istus erunt. And I used to have a song on the keyboard. Maybe I'll put together one podcast of all the songs. E iste it, imus istus erunt, and it would go e iste it, imus istus erunt. It had a cool vibe to it and everything. So what you do is you just take the stem, portavu, okay, which is taking that letter off, and then you add the new ending, portavisti. Okay, so now that's portawa is your stem for the perfect, different stem than the present and the imperfect, and then you add your endings. E is to it. You do your other ones, it's going to be porta wit, porta vimus, portavimus, porta vistus, and portaverunt. Okay, so these are your endings, and you got it, imus, istus, erunt. And it's going to work the same for all the other conjugations. Okay, there is no difference with the perfect. So for habeo, habere, habui, habitus, long as you go to your third principal part, and then an I, and use your e iste it, imus iste erunt endings, you're set. So that's it. Habui, I had. Habuisti, you had. sorry, habuit, habuit. We habuimos, habuistes, and habuerunt. And that's how it works. For the third, it doesn't matter what conjugation is. All perfect always functions the same. So you got duco, ducere, duxi, ductus. So you got third principal part, and you just say ego duxi, I led. Tu duxisti, you led. He led. Duxit. Maybe that reminds you of Dixit. Dixit is, you know, a third conjugation also, right? Dicit, Dixit. Ducit, Duxit. You just have that letter change. Duximus. Oops, sorry. Duximus. Duxistis. And duxerunt. There you have it. Lastly, you got audio. Oops, that looks like D. Audire. Audivi. Auditus. So you'd say ego audivi. Notice that it's the third part. Tu audivistis. Audivisti. Third, audivit. In the plurals, audivimus, audivistis, and audiverunt. And that's what it is. Now, whereas in the imperfect, ba, ba is your way of distinguishing the tense. In the perfect, there are several ways of indicating the tense, but the most common ways are the letters V, S, U, and X. So you can think V sucks. Notice, like in Portawi, the V indicates it. Here a U is indicating it. Here an X. Okay, here a V. So V sucks, these letters will appear a lot. Those mean perfect if they appear in the right place. Another way of doing the perfect is a vowel change. Like in the present, facit means he does, but then that changes in the perfect to fake it. So the A changed to an E. Capit, capit. Okay? So vowel change is another way that the perfect is indicated. A third way that's very common is called perfect doubling. So like currit, which means to run, he runs, that changes to cucurit. Cucurit. So see how I doubled that first syllable. Currit, cucurit. That's also a common way of showing the perfect. So you got V sucks, those letters, you got vowel change, and you got perfect doubling. And there's some other ways too, but those are the most common. Okay, we're going to move along into the pluperfect, the more perfect.